Okay, I've got a question that's been living rent-free in my head for like 3 days. And I need to know, am I the only person who's ever wondered this? What if every single human on Earth just disappeared tomorrow? Not zombies, not aliens, nobody launches the nukes, nobody presses some giant reset button. I mean, everybody's just gone. Now I'll be honest, I thought I already knew what would happen. No people, no civilization, lights out, internet gone, game over. Pretty straightforward, except apparently I've watched way too many disaster movies, because that's not what happens, not even close. The deeper I got into this, the more I realized I've been giving myself way too much credit, because apparently I have absolutely no idea how the world actually works. Seriously, the first thing I learned was honestly kind of rude. Earth doesn't stop, it doesn't panic, it doesn't even notice we're gone, it just keeps being Earth. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there like, wait, that's it? I mean, we've spent thousands of years building cities, roads, bridges, entire civilizations, and Earth's response is basically, cool. Anyway, interesting. So now I'm invested, because if the Earth isn't immediately falling apart, then what actually happens? Do the lights stay on? Who's running the power plants? Hold on. What about airplanes that are already in the sky? Actually, never mind. Who's feeding everybody's pets? I know, out of everything I could have worried about, that's where my brain went. But once I thought about it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And that's when I realized every answer just created another question. Turns out, I was wrong about almost everything. And the thing that surprised me the most wasn't what disappeared, it was what didn't. Alright, let's start with the first 10 minutes, because this is where I immediately realized I know way less about electricity than I thought I did. The first thing I imagined was every city on Earth going dark, instantly, like somebody unplugged the planet. Makes sense, right? Nope. Traffic lights? Still changing. For absolutely nobody. Which honestly, is way creepier than if they'd just turned off. Security cameras? Still recording. Automatic sprinklers? Still watering the grass. And somewhere, a coffee machine finishes brewing for someone who's never coming back. Yeah, I did not love that image. Then another question hit me. Hold on. If the electricity's still working, who's actually making that happen? Because electricity doesn't exactly run on hopes and dreams. Turns out, some power plants can actually keep running by themselves for a while. Others begin shutting down much sooner, which honestly kind of blew my mind. Because without even realizing it, we've built a world that's surprisingly good at keeping itself alive. At least, for a little while. Then my brain did what it always does. It skipped to the next weird question. The airplanes. I don't know why, but this one really bothered me. There are thousands of flights in the air every single day, so if every pilot just disappears, what happens? My first thought? Yeah, those planes are definitely crashing. Apparently, it's a little more complicated than that. Modern airplanes are way smarter than I gave them credit for. They can stay on autopilot for quite a while. Landing them though? Yeah, that's where things get ugly, which is honestly one of those facts I wish I never Googled. At this point, I was starting to notice a pattern. Every time I thought I already knew the answer, I was wrong. So naturally, my brain found something else to worry about. Nuclear power plants. Because if you've watched literally any apocalypse movie, you know exactly where my head went. Well, we're cooked. Thankfully, engineers are a lot smarter than screenwriters. Most nuclear power plants are designed to automatically shut themselves down if something goes wrong. And I'll be honest, that made me feel a lot better. For about 10 seconds. Because then another question hit me. Okay, who's keeping them cool after that? Turns out, some problems don't happen immediately. They happen later. Backup systems eventually run out. Equipment eventually fails. Without people maintaining everything, small problems slowly become bigger ones. And that's when it clicked. This isn't one giant disaster. It's thousands of tiny ones, quietly stacking on top of each other. Some happen in hours, some take days, some take years, and somehow, that idea was way creepier. Fast forward one day, this is where the world starts feeling different. Not because everything explodes, because nobody's around to do the boring jobs anymore. Nobody fixes broken water mains, nobody restocks grocery shelves, nobody unloads delivery trucks, nobody repairs traffic lights, nobody answers emergency calls, nobody picks up the trash. Actually, hold on, the trash, I know. Out of everything we've talked about, that's the thing I got stuck on. But seriously, how long before entire cities just start smelling awful? Probably way sooner than any of us would like, and I think that's kind of the point. There are thousands of jobs we never think about, not because they aren't important, because when they're done right, nothing happens. You don't celebrate when your lights turn on. You don't clap because clean water comes out of the faucet. You just expect it until nobody shows up. Then my brain went somewhere I really wasn't expecting. Actually, never mind the trash. Who's feeding everybody's pets? I know, I already asked that, but I couldn't let it go, because somewhere, there's a golden retriever sitting by the front door, waiting, completely convinced. Today's the day their person comes home? Yeah, I was not expecting my own Google search to emotionally attack me. Some pets would eventually find food. Some would escape. Some wouldn't be so lucky. Cats? Let's be honest. Cats would probably spend about 5 minutes looking for us, then immediately start acting like they own the neighborhood. Honestly, most of them already do. Then another question hit me. Wait, what about zoos? No keepers, no feeding schedules, no visitors. At first, nothing really changes, but eventually, some animals stay exactly where they are. Others eventually get out. And for the first time in a very long time, nature starts rewriting the rules. Then I stumbled across one of the coolest things I'd learned all week. Did you know? After people left the area around Chernobyl, wildlife didn't disappear. It exploded. Wolves, lynx, moose, wild horses, even endangered species started coming back. Turns out, nature was doing just fine. We were the ones making it complicated. And honestly, that was expected to be the takeaway. Then my brain skipped ahead again. Okay, if that's what one day looks like, what does 1 week look like? Okay, let's jump ahead a week. Because honestly, I don't think I'd even recognize the world anymore. Not because the buildings are gone, they're still there, mostly. It's everything else that feels different. The silence, no traffic, no airplanes, no construction, no neighbor deciding 7:30 in the morning is the perfect time to mow the lawn. Just wind, rain, birds. Actually, when was the last time Earth was this quiet? Probably long before any of us were around. And here's something I never thought about. When humans get quieter, nature gets louder, not because it suddenly appears, because you finally hear it. Birds that have probably been outside your window every morning, wind moving through trees, water flowing through rivers. It's almost like the planet's been talking this whole time. We were just too loud to notice. Then another thing. Okay, if nobody's cutting the grass anymore, what happens? Turns out, not much, for about a week. Seriously, nature doesn't sprint back into the city. It doesn't kick the front door down. It just starts winning tiny battles. One crack in the sidewalk, one vine climbing a fence, one little weed pushing through the pavement, then another, then another. Nature never looks at a city and says, I'm taking this back. It just looks at one tiny crack and quietly goes, I'll take that. I don't know why, but that might be the funniest thing I've imagined all week. Imagine spending billions of dollars building a highway just to get absolutely cooked by a dandelion. And the crazy part? Nature isn't trying to beat us, it's just growing. The only reason it ever looked like we were winning is because somebody kept showing up every weekend with a lawnmower. Okay, now I needed to know. What does a year look like? 1 year? Okay, now things actually start looking different. Not because of one giant event, because of thousands of tiny ones. A broken window lets rain inside. Rain ruins the floor. The floor weakens. The roof starts leaking. Nobody fixes it. One broken window becomes 10. 10 becomes 100. And eventually, buildings don't collapse because something attacked them. They slowly fall apart because nobody showed up with a toolbox. Then it hit me. I always thought cities felt permanent, like they'd always be here, but they're really not. They're kind of like a fish tank. Stay with me. When you walk into somebody's house, you see clean water, healthy fish. Everything looks effortless. What you don't see is all the work happening behind the scenes. Cleaning the filter, changing the water, checking the temperature, it only looks effortless because somebody never stops taking care of it. Cities are exactly the same. You don't think about the electrician until the lights don't come on. You don't think about the guy fixing water mains until there's no water. You don't think about the garbage truck until Tuesday comes and it never shows up. That's weird because those people quietly hold the whole thing together and most of us never even notice. Then it clicked. Cities don't disappear when buildings collapse. They disappear when nobody shows up on Monday. I don't know why, but that line stuck with me because it made me realize I'd spent my whole life admiring buildings instead of the people keeping them alive. Then, like always, my brain skipped way too far ahead. 1,000 years later, okay, Now it's actually hard to tell we were ever here. Most roads are gone. Neighborhoods have turned into forests. Parking lots became fields. Trees grow through buildings that used to scrape the sky. And if somebody landed on Earth for the very first time, they'd probably never guess 8 billion people once lived here. Well, almost. Because humans are really good at leaving stuff behind. The pyramids? Still standing. Parts of the Great Wall? Still hanging on. Mount Rushmore? Looking a little rough, but still recognizable. And then, there's plastic. Yeah, that water bottle rolling around under your passenger seat has a decent chance of outliving your entire civilization, which, honestly, might be the most embarrassing fact in this whole video. Then I asked myself one last question. What actually disappeared first? The buildings? The roads? The cities? Turns out, none of them. The first thing that disappeared was people showing up. Nobody unlocked the coffee shop. Nobody stocked the grocery shelves. Nobody fixed the transformer before the lights went out. Nobody drove the garbage truck. Nobody repaired the bridge. Nobody taught the math class. Nobody did all the little jobs that everybody quietly expects every single day. And then, something clicked. Not the buildings, not the roads, not even the cities. The first thing civilization loses is people taking care of each other. I don't know why, but that hit me because I don't think I've ever driven past a garbage truck or a road crew or the guy fixing a power line and thought that person's helping keep civilization running. But they are. Actually, millions of people are. Every single day. Most of them will never meet. Most of them will never make the news. Most of them will never get thanked. And yet, if they didn't show up tomorrow, we'd notice. Pretty quickly, I fell down this rabbit hole trying to figure out what would happen if humans disappeared. Instead, I accidentally figured out what humans actually do. And honestly, I wasn't expecting that to be the answer. Anyway, that's been living rent-free in my head all week. So congratulations. It's your problem now. I'll see you in the next one.